20,000-year-old evidence of ancient vehicles discovered in New Mexico. So this is before the Younger Dryas comet impact of 13,000 years ago. Ancient footprints and drag marks at White Sands National Park in New Mexico suggest the earliest known Americans dragged wooden Traverse-like vehicles. The earliest known North American used wood vehicles to transport goods, and possibly even people, more than 20,000 years ago, a new study suggests. Researchers discovered sled-like drag marks alongside ancient footprints at White Sands National Park, New Mexico, potentially the oldest human footprint site in North America. Indigenous people consulted in the research suggest that the marks were left by some kind of travois, a wooden frame made from two poles bound together, according to the study, which was published in the January edition of the journal Quaternary Science Advances. Indigenous groups of the Great Plains, which includes parts of New Mexico, used travois pulled by dogs and later horses to transport their houses, furniture, and other possessions at the time of early contact with European colonizers around 500 years ago. Children and older women also rode in them at the time, according to the study. Based on the size and positioning of the ancient footprints found next to the drag marks, adults likely pulled the travois while children followed, the researchers said. Many people will be familiar with pushing a shopping trolley around the supermarket, moving from location to location with children hanging on. Study lead author Matthew Bennett, professor of environmental and geographical science at Bournemouth University in the UK, said, "This appears to be the ancient equivalent, but without wheels." Bennett noted that researchers know our ancestors must have used something to carry their possessions as they migrated around the world, but these wooden vehicles have since rotted away. The recently discovered drag marks provide the first indication of how prehistoric people moved heavy loads before wheels, he said. Now, researchers began excavating the drag marks since 2020, and at White Sands, trackways are preserved in ancient dried mud buried beneath the sediment many millennia ago. People trudged through the landscape alongside mammoths, giant ground sloths, camels, and many other Ice Age creatures. The drag marks consist of lines in the ground extending upwards of 165 feet. Some of the marks were single lines, which could have been made by two poles bound together at the end. In other cases, there were two parallel lines, likely made by two poles crossed in the middle X-shaped, according to the statement. Indigenous people of the Great Plains typically use an A-shaped wooden frame with a connection of bars or net-like baskets to hold objects in place, according to the study. The researchers suspected that ancient people in the region did the same. To test their theory, the team made their own travois out of wooden poles and dragged them along mudflats in the UK and along the coast of Maine. In our experiments, our footprints and lines in the mud from the poles had the same appearance as the fossilized examples that we found in New Mexico, Bennett said. Bennett and his colleagues previously dated the human footprints at White Sands around 21,000 to 23,000 years ago, challenging the previous assumption that humans arrived in North America 13,000 to 16,000 years ago. Not all researchers agree on the site's age, but the study authors noted that any dating debate should not distract from these newly identified features, demonstrating ancient indigenous practices, whatever their age. Every discovery that we uncover in White Sands adds to our understanding of the lives of the people to settle in the Americas. Co-author of the new study, Sally Reynolds, a mammalian paleontologist at Bournemouth University, said in a statement, "These people were the first migrants to travel to North America, and understanding more about how they moved around is vital to being able to tell their story." This is from Patrick Pester on Life Science. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.